Hey guys, it's Tyler, and welcome to another CGS live stream. Glad you could join me. Hope you're having a great week. So today we're going to be continuing with designing an evil book. So this is going to be part 2. So if you're interested in seeing part 1, go ahead and look through the YouTube section there. The videos uploaded, you should see the same name. And that will be part 1, and then this will be part 2, and I think we'll probably finish this up in this part, so this will be a 2-parter. And just a quick recap, so this is sort of a preview of one of the early assignments you're going to get when you sign up to do the Intro to Concept Art program here at CGS. And I realize that my music tends to be a little bit too loud, so let's turn that down. I always forget to do that. So hopefully you can hear me. Let me know how that sounds, and well, without further ado, let's get started here. Let me open my chat window so I can see if anybody's trying to send me some secret messages. Let's see, where is this here? Huh. Looks like maybe I've got an issue with my chat connection. Give me 1 second here. Isn't that interesting? View, docs, toolbars. It's usually right there. Isn't that odd? Well, maybe I can just tune into the I'm not going to get people chatting to me on Twitch, but I will get people chatting with me on YouTube, I think, if I tune into my own stream here and I look at the chat. Let's hope that that works. Okay, I've got the YouTube chat, so if you want to message me, hop into the YouTube chat. That's going to be the way to get a hold of me in this particular stream. Apologies for that inconvenience, but yeah, something a little funky about my normal chat client there. Okay, enough delays. Let's take a look at the art here. So where we left off last time is we had the design mostly figured out. There'll be some fun little bits to add at the end here, but the design's mostly figured out here. Which we did the shadow pass first, so we were doing some ambient occlusion, we were doing some cast shadows, and then we put some flat colors in for all the different regions. So we defined the different metals, this sort of fleshy, leathery area going on. We've got the tongue, the paper, right? So we have all those figured out. Those are all flat tones here underneath everything going on. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to start to inject a bit of color variation in these, because right now they're just basically flat colors, and that's not very realistic, right? We want to introduce some tones, some alternating cools and warms in here, and I think that might be a good place to go next with this. Now, I was looking at this just kind of ambiently since last week, and I was actually thinking, you know, this tongue is really cool. I like it, but the color is a little predictable, right? Like, what if we tried actually doing a little bit of a weirder color with the tongue? And I thought that might be fun to play with. So let's do that first here. And I was thinking of maybe trying something weird, like a blue green kind of tongue or something. Like that might be kind of neat to do something a little unpredictable there. Yeah, so we'll have this kind of weird blue inside of the mouth. That's kind of a neat contrast with the warmer tones going on in the skin too. So I thought that might be a fun little unexpected tweak there. So we'll work with that. Okay, and then so what we want to do now is I want to bring in some warm tones in here. So let's find that skin layer there. We'll do a new layer and link it to the skin area so we don't have to worry about staying inside the lines. And I'm just going to find some opportunities here to bring in some of these red tones into the skin. I wonder if people are chatting with me generally more on Twitch than they are elsewhere. Maybe I'll go on there and log into that too, just so I can see if anybody's chatting with me on here too. Okay, I've got this one open now too, so if you happen to be chatting with me on Twitch, then I should see that as well. I got so many windows open at this point now, but yeah, I think we should be good. All right. So again, we're injecting some of these warm tones here. And I like the idea that maybe there's some of this red around these stitches, like it's a sort of stressed area. I think that would be cool element there. And anywhere where there's these sort of pockets, these little depressions, I think that's a good spot for some of this more red tone. It's definitely starting to feel a little more fleshy there. And let's play around with maybe bringing in some cooler tones as well here. Let's go. Blue. And this is on that flat color layer, so these are all just local color choices, right? We're not talking about lighting here at all. This is not affecting, or this is not to imply any sort of environmental conditions on this, right? This is just the sort of, innate color of the book here in the flesh. So let's get some of those cooler tones in. And now we're starting to get a bit of that color play that I want. And it occurs to me that these metal rivets here, I want those to feel shiny. And if we have this base color too bright on those, it's going to be hard to get them to pop the way I want. That specularity is not going to look right. So I'm going to lower the brightness of those. Yeah, I think that's going to be a better foundation for the specularity there. Hello. What material are you thinking the purple part will be? So I'm gonna make it basically like it's gonna be metal, kind of like a dark steel kind of thing. And the purpliness, I think, will probably go away a bit as we work it up. And in fact, it might just be that I want to. Let's see. Let's adjust the shadow color. So our shadows are in a group here, and we can control the colors of we can tint these shadows by having adjustment layers linked to this shadow group, which is pretty cool. And you can do it per region because we have our flat colors all separated here. So for example, if we wanted to tint the shadows for the metal areas, we could use the selection here of the metal, add that hue saturation adjustment layer here with that alpha mask, and then link it to the shadow group. So we're basically doing sort of two levels of control there. We're selecting the region that it's controlling, and we're also controlling which layers it's affecting. So that's a really good way to stay organized. And just to kind of make this obvious, we could see here, I could change the shadows on just that area, which is pretty cool. Pretty fun effect. You get crazy with it. Yeah, I mean, we can make this kind of like rusty, and I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. Just the key thing with this stuff is just have some reference material nearby, and especially if it's something you're unfamiliar with painting, so you can use that as a guide for yourself. Yeah, so I'm going to lower the strength of this layer just a bit. And so we're tuning our materials, right? This is a prep phase. And let's see this tongue here. It's a good color. Is it maybe too bright? If we bring it down, it's going to feel a little bit more natural there. And it could even be that these pages want to be a bit darker as well. Okay, yep, I'm digging that. You can see just how much control we have with this setup, right? We really can dial these things in and get it feeling awesome. Okay, so now what we could do is we could start playing around with a bit of that specularity, right? We could start to define this the metal qualities of this here. So let's do that. We're gonna bring in a new layer here. We'll put it in a highlights group. And for this here, I think we'll use the knife brush initially for some of these highlights. And maybe we'll use the wedge brush. That's kind of a fun one too. Let's see. Okay, yep, that's cool. I like that. I think I'm wanting to add some darks in here too. So what we'll do is I'm gonna duplicate everything I've got here. I like to use my layers as a history state as well. I think we might just go ahead and merge everything together, so I have complete freedom to mess with stuff. I'm just feeling like I might want to go a little bit darker with some of this stuff here. So and so what you're going to notice is that it's these specular reflections that are really going to communicate the kind of material clearly. I try to reach a state where I merge my layers as quickly as I can because I like the stage where I'm working raw and I'm not worried about the layer structure as much. But as you were seeing, I was getting a lot of control with those layers, so you just want to tune it until you feel good about it, so you feel like you have good clarity on what's going on, and then move on into this stage here. You always use the knife brush. Nice. Yeah. God, that one's so good. I love it. Here I'm using the wedge because it has just a little bit of extra funkiness going on. It's got a extra texture and it's gonna give a little bit of extra texture to the metal, and I think that's the direction we want to head. But the knife brush is certainly very versatile. And even though I'm not painting with real media here, I kind of like to imagine that I'm using a brush and that there's these sort of oils on the canvas and I'm pushing the oils around, and I like there to be a sort of a butteriness to the application of the paint in this final layer. That might just be too distracting. Those elements there, I think, are just a bit too much for the eye to process. This is where you get into that focal point thing, right? Where we're thinking about areas of visual rest. So make sure we have a very clear focal point. We have good visual emphasis. If your entire piece is loud and screaming at the viewer, then they don't know where to look, and that's not a good thing. Also good to look at that navigator and a little mini view to see how that's reading. you know, and we're going to need to use, that's why I put black there, is because I want this shape to pop out, right? We really need that thing to lift off the surface there. So that's where you're going to need to use those really strong value contrasts. And if you want a color to feel more intense, then try putting a color nearby that's of opposite temperature, right, or relative opposite temperature. So if you put a little bit of cooler gray next to this highlight here, the yellow of the highlight will start to pop more. the blue tongue looks more dead than we know it to be. Yeah, it's luring you into a false sense of security there, and then it grabs you, right? Okay, starting to like the way the metal's looking here. I think that's definitely coming together. I think about using some artificial light for it. Do you mean like glowing effects, or that it's like lit by like incandescent bulbs, or what? Sorry, I'm not sure. I know what you mean by artificial lights. The scene light. So the scene light is pretty simple right now. We just have one light from the sort of top right side of the image. That's basically kind of what we're working with right now. In terms of what type of bulb it is, or it's candelas or whatever, it's fairly neutral light, right? It's white, white light, and it's not as intense as the sun. So I would say it is an artificial light source, but I haven't gotten necessarily more specific in my head about it than that. Hey, Audrey, welcome. Nope. I want she like to highlight crawling up higher than that. Yeah, I don't want to go super hot with that. Sometimes you gotta just play around with it and see what feels right. And a phrase I often tell my students is that your eyes are smarter than your brain when it comes to art. So you have to kind of put it down or see it sometimes to know what works. You can't always premeditate all of these things. Let's go for that good old knife brush here. kind of focusing on the metal right now, as you guys have noticed, and then I'll move on to the flesh parts in a bit here. Just for me, kind of helps me to stay in the right mental space when I'm working on each material. You get kind of a rhythm. You kind of start to. There's a certain sensibility that you're hopefully refining as you're working on the material here. Again, we'll use that higher contrast there, those really dark blacks, super dark grays to get those pegs to pop off the surface there. We can always reinforce the connection point as well with just a little extra AO, ambient occlusion. A little bit of a weird segmentation happening here that I feel like is just interrupting our visual flow. Let's well, ooh, that's actually happy accidents. There's a nice little subtlety to that there that I like. Let's leave that. Catch up on the chat here. Let's see. I'm doing good. Let's see. I live to live with digital art. Not sure I understand that. Might have to rephrase that one for me. Apologies. All right, let's see here. Bring in a little bit of this activity on the lock here. I feel like we lost a little bit of this cast shadow here. There we go. There's these funky little weird orange elements that came in from a little bit of layer artifacting, and I'm going to leave them because they're cool looking. And I kind of recognize when you have a happy accident and kind of roll with it. I mean, I totally intended there to be some cool little orange things there. Yes, it was part of my plan all along. zooming out here and adjusting overall brightness of this area zoomed out so I can assess a little bit better how bright I want this to be. And remember, if we make everything bright, then nothing feels bright. So these darks are so key to ensuring the highlights feel good. And the other thing you'll notice is I'm not really worried about edges right now, like cleaning up all these little artifacts. It's not really that important at this stage. It's something we can definitely easily do at the end. We can come in and clean up all these edges. That's not what's important to this piece right now. So if you guys are looking at those and you're like, well, he doesn't fix that little weird pixel hanging off the edge there. It's like, definitely we'll get to that. Like this stuff over here, right? Easily. It's so quick to just clean up those edges. Not worried about it. Again, man, those little hits of orange, so neat. I can barely sample that, but I want it. Give it to me. Give me the orange. Why is this not showing up right? I can't sample the orange. Give me that color. Yeah, there we go. That's what I wanted. I wanted a little more of that nonsense. Yes, there we go. That feels cool. Gives a slight bit of rustiness. Little accents, and the orange kind of pulls out the slight cooler blues that we have injected in here, even though they're really subtle. That's definitely doing what I want, although I think we could probably use a bit of blue in this lock as well, or at least relative blue, right? Everything, when I talk about colors, I'm always talking relatively, right? It feels blue next to the warm highlights on this lock here, but is it actually blue? Nope. Not really. Let's sample this. Look at this. It's not blue at all, right? It just feels cooler. So when I say blue, try not to get too thrown off by that. In my mind, I'm thinking more blue, but it's not actually blue. And one of the easiest things to do to get forms to fall away in the scene or get further back is to just sample your environment color here and just add some atmospheric perspective, smoke in some of that ambience, right? That's a really easy thing to do. And there's always a pass that I do either along the way or certainly at the end I'll consider it. It's a way to just kind of enhance it. That's a very painterly thing to do, is to try to exaggerate the sense of depth in the image through atmospheric perspective. It could be a scene that really isn't expressing that much physical depth, like a book on a table. We imagine, unless the book is the size of a city block, which it probably isn't, right? It's not that much physical space. So atmospheric perspective, not that much, right? If we look out our window and we look at a distant landscape, right, we see the mountains super far away. That's where we start to notice atmospheric perspective in a significant way. But a book on a table, we don't. But painters, right, our ability as an artist is to use some of those ideas to exaggerate depth in the image. So we might put a little atmospheric perspective in a scene as small as this. And another thing that's a kind of painterly tactic, I guess you could say, is to reduce the clarity of detail in the shadows, have that stuff be just a little bit simpler. In reality, yeah, our eyes might be able to discern the information in the shadows just fine, but in an image like this, where we're looking to enhance it, create just a more interesting experience than looking at a photograph, right? We have to think about some of those things and how to selectively exaggerate, right? So definitely some stuff to consider there. Is my main job a digital artist? Yeah, I do digital art for a living. Am I thinking about adding some kind of accent colors at the end or an accent point? Yeah, we definitely could add some more fancy stuff. I'm thinking about maybe adding some emissives out of the mouth there. To be honest, that might be a fun final element. Or maybe we'll add some rim lighting or another kind of bounce light in the scene, or some side lighting in the scene. Those are all things we could definitely consider doing here. Yeah, absolutely. It's the cold blue dress all over again. Yeah, right. It's a weird sense of perception. I mean, it's, as an artist, you're the piece you're creating is like you're serving a dish to your audience, and you need to know their palate. You need to know how their taste buds are going to react to what you're doing, and it's about understanding human perception, right? How do the eyeballs work? How does the brain work? How do the eyeballs work? And that relative comparison of warm and cool, that use of contrast, careful use of contrast, all that stuff is just your ability. Think of yourself as like an image wizard, right? You're like crafting this visual spell to put over on your audience. But if you don't understand your audience, you're not going to be able to manipulate them very well. And that's a huge difference between entertainment art, entertainment design, and fine art, right? Fine art, you put stuff out there and people, you kind of let them interpret stuff, right? You kind of let them feel the way they want to feel about what you're doing. I mean, you can certainly have a message, but in entertainment design, your goal is to try to have everybody feel the same way, because the director or the writers, right, they have a very clear intent that they're after with a design. And if you can't ensure that your design makes the audience feel that way, well, then you're not doing your job, right? So that's where we have to understand the way that the eyeball processes stuff and the way that the brain processes stuff. And when I say the brain, what I mean is like other aspects that are not purely just colors and tones on the canvas, things like narrative elements, archetypes. That's a different sort of thing to consider there, and important to consider. Somehow along the way, I lost just a bit too much of this shadow here on this book page, or these pages. Let's put that back in. Awesome. Yeah, I think I want to draw your eye into those teeth just a bit more. And so here's where we can start to imply just a bit of specularity to the skin. You got to be real careful. It's of course a very different material than the metal, right? So it's going to have a different quality to its specular reflection. And we have to think about if the skin is like dry or oily or, you know, wet. All those things change how this feels. And I'm going for definitely not wet or super oily or anything. Kind of leathery, I guess, would be a good way to put this. Sort of an oily, I guess, an oil tint. Well, slightly oily. Maybe that's the feel I'm going for. I want an opportunity to have some highlights on the skin here. They're going to be limited. What do I like most about painting? Well, I like the idea that I can imagine something and then communicate it to others through the visual medium here. It's not just stuck in my head. Oh, thanks, Patrick. Appreciate that. Flipping an image is good for not only the drawing phase, but also for the rendering phase. Sometimes your sense of lighting might be a little bit, direction of the lighting might be a little bit off, or as you're sculpting the forms, it might start to feel a little bit weird. So this is always a good thing to do. What I'd like to do is get just a bit more warmth in these shadows here on the undersides. Let's do that. Yep, that's cool. I can dig that. What does that edge want? That edge is annoying me. Actually gonna liquefy this just slightly here. Okay, yeah, there we go. It's like I want this area to blend, but not so much that you lose that shape, so it's got to be, that's one of the more tricky spots there. And again, we still might even bring in another light. I'm not sold on that quite yet. We'll see. Patrick asks, is it usually the same having a more saturated shadow and a less saturated light source? You know, it's all about the scene. It's all about the way you want to set up the scene. But I will say that, you know, shadow area is the place where you tend to see the color more truly. The light in the scene is what tints things, right? It's what affects the local colors of an object. In the case of a white light, of course, we're not tinting the colors at all, you know, but we're still creating this additive effect, right? And as things get closer to white, then we lose the ability to have that saturation. So yeah, it just happens to be that the shadow areas are sort of a more genuine a more genuine view of the local colors going on in the scene. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about something like an outdoor setting where you have warm sunlight, then the shadows do look relatively cool compared to the sunlight. They're not that blue, really, if you sample them, but they are relatively blue or cool compared to the sunlight. So yeah, in an outdoor setting too. In an indoor environment or like a nebulous scene like this, we're kind of like our own little lighting director. We can kind of make up our mind however we want to about these choices. I like the idea of having this be red down here so we get that tongue to stand off better. I think that's a good call. Yep, that's exactly right. The light washes out the color. You want to see the black and whites? Sure. There you go. There's the values we got going on right now here. Pause the video if you want to get a more in-depth look at that pass there. Okay, let's keep working on these lower areas here. Just implying there are little bits of papers and scraps kind of hanging out to add some extra depth to this thing. Yeah, no problem at all. Okay, let's do a bit of edge cleanup here. Okay, so I'm going to start to bring in a bit of atmosphere to the actual environment here. Not that we're going to paint an environment, but I want to imply a bit of sense of light direction here. So we'll just do that first with a bit of a soft round brush, and we can see that the light's kind of coming in from over here. So we'll add a sense of the light hitting the ground plane there. And it's darker over here, so we'll add a sense of darkness to the edges on this side. So you can see when we synchronize the gradations of the background with the lighting of the object, that's where everything starts to become pretty cohesive, right? Let's see. Do I already know what I'll be doing for my next stream project? I have not decided on that yet. Yeah, sometimes I know in advance, sometimes it's pretty last minute. So I'm not too sure, actually. I'll have to be thinking about that. And I think there might be, we're thinking about maybe having a slightly different schedule for the channel too. So that's kind of in the works right now. So I think we're still kind of deciding on some of those things. So we'll definitely let you guys know as soon as we're more finalized on those changes. But we'll definitely be bringing you lots of cool new content in the future here. There's part of me that just wants there to be another couple little bits of these weird little paper bits. So little tweak on this area over here. This is feeling just a little too bright for that edge back there. Yeah, there we go. A little more natural fall off to that section. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in some shadow then onto the ground here underneath this thing. What kind of connected better with its environment through the shadowing there. So we're going to have yeah, let's start with that. I'm not super worried about accuracy yet. I just want to get a shape in and kind of feel it out there. I want to do, maybe we just want to do okay, race. Where's my race? There we go. Actually, it's not going to be that blurred at all because it's pretty close to the object. So I'll just fuzz it slightly there. Yeah, let's just have it below the lock there. It's casting a little too wide out there. Okay, the tongue, we want to do something for that, so let's certainly get that going on. Actually, wait, that wants to be like this. Alright, well, we're close. Let's put it right around. I want to do a little ambient occlusion underneath the book as well, so we'll duplicate this. This is going to be a fun little trick. Just going to black this out, put it underneath, and then we'll do an outer glow on this layer. If I can get it to do what I want it to do here. Come on. There we go. Outer glow set to normal mode. We'll make this black. And so we have a little bit of that ambient occlusion coming from underneath there. We don't want it to be super strong. We want to just get a little bit of it. Helps it connect with the background there. And now we don't want it to be above the object, right? So we've got to erase away the top part there. It's only where it's connecting to the ground. part of the cast shadow there. Okay. You're wanting some material studies with color theory explanation would be amazing. Okay, definitely. We'll definitely keep that in mind. That's a good suggestion. Now, before we finalize other weird little effects, I wanted to play around with the idea of maybe having a rim light. I don't know. I'm not fully sold on that idea yet. I do it a lot, but I don't think it's always appropriate, or it doesn't always give me the effect that I'm looking for. So we'll just see. Now the question is, where is it coming from? Maybe it's from over here. Okay, I might actually like it. This always happens where I add it in and I'm like, yeah. Yep, I guess folks we're going with the rim light because I do like it, so there you have it. Yeah, that's the thing about 3-point lighting, cinematic lighting, is that it makes everything pop more. So that's why you see it used so much. Okay, let's see here. A little bit of a weird edge on this tongue here. Fix that up. A little too strong on the rim light over here. Okay, the fun thing is you can also play around with colorizing the rim light. So if you wanted to do like, you know, like a blue rim light like this, you could do, right? So that's kind of neat. You could do like red, kind of makes it a little bit more scary looking. Orange rim light's actually kind of neat here because it's kind of complementing the blues that we got going on. Turn down the intensity on this just a bit here. Yeah, I think I'm liking the orange. That's a neat little complement there. just merge that in. Might as well. It's looking fine. Okay. Let's introduce that orange light to the environment now. Don't want to forget about that. I'm going to go real soft with it because it's pretty strong. Just going to use a slight indication of warmth coming from that direction. Pull the focus in on the image just a bit. Okay, so now we're going to duplicate everything for the final layer here. And here I'm just using some color dodge to pop some of these highlights a bit more. And now let's play with the idea of that light coming from in the mouth here. If there's a second light, should the shadow of the book not have such strong edges? So the edge sharpness has nothing to do with how much secondary light is in the scene. The edge sharpness has to do with how far the object is from the shadow it's casting. So the lightness of the shadow, now that's something that changes, right? So, this would get lighter if there's more ambient light in the scene. And we could argue maybe there'd be a little bit less darkness of the shadow on this upper corner because of this other light coming in. That's something we could play with. But the sharpness of the edge isn't changed by ambient light in the scene. Here I'm just kind of pulling in the light a bit because I was feeling like we were losing just a bit of depth from that there. Okay, cool. All right, and I want to do this little effect here. Where is it? We've got a fun brush down here. See, that might be too much. I want to just put a little bit in here. Yeah, there we go. Maybe a little bit spilling out from that side there. From one of these little holes here. Maybe there's one we don't see that's back there. Okay, and now we give it a little signature. And that is our completed Evil book, which was a lot of fun. I'm very happy with how it came out. I think it's pretty cool. Definitely feels spooky, and there were some fun elements to render in there, skin and metal and all that sort of stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this come together. Glad you could join me for this. And again, this is a little preview of an assignment that you will get if you sign up for the Intro to Concept Art course with CGS. So go check that out on our website. And remember to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. Thank you guys so much. It was a lot of fun. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.